Okay, today we're going to be talking about adding integers. Just as a reminder, an integer is a whole number that is either positive or negative. And what we're going to do is we're going to take numbers and put them together. Anytime we're talking about a number that is added together, we're talking about the addendum. And then, of course, the operation of combining the numbers to find the sum would be the operation of addition. And then answer to an addition problem is called the sum. So we're going to look at these in two different ways. The first way we're going to look at them is through this chart. Now, anytime I have a positive and a positive number, what I'm going to do is use the red part as indicating what kind of numbers I have, what type of numbers. So I either have a positive or I have a negative number. And what it's going to tell me in the blue part of it is what operation do I need to perform. Since I have a positive and a positive number, I'm going to go ahead and add those two numbers together. Now, if I have a negative number and a negative number, that's going to tell me to subtract or to add those numbers also. Okay? Now, when we get to a positive and a negative number, or we can even say a negative and a positive number, that one is where we're going to actually subtract the two numbers. And then the last step in doing these type of problems is then we have to look at the numbers and decide what sign does it carry. And that's going to be, you'll see that in just a minute. So we're going to look at our first weight. I have 3 plus 4. I know many of you probably already have the answer in your head, but we're going to kind of break this down a little bit so we can understand our chart a little bit better. So I have 3. Now notice that I do not add the plus behind it in with it, but I am going to look to the future and see what kind of sign it has. Now for a number to be positive, it's either going to have a blank spot or we're going to have a plus sign in it. Okay, since I have a blank spot on this first one, I'm going to consider this to be a positive 3. Now let's take a look at the 4, and you will notice that I did add in the plus sign with this, because if we look to the future of the 4, the plus sign is there. So now we know that we have a positive number. So we have two positive numbers, so that tells me I'm going to add those two numbers together. 3 plus 4 is 7. Now, I am going to look at my two numbers. 4 is my bigger number. It is a positive, so I know that my answer is going to come out to a positive 7. Now, I did mention that there is another way to look at these type of problems, and that way is looking at a number line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw myself a number line, put 0 here. So it tells me that I need to go out 3 spots to begin with. There's my 3, so I'm going to go out 3 spots, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then the second part tells me that I need to keep going in the positive direction, because remember, plus is on this side with on a line, and if I go over this way to the left, it tells me to subtract lines or go in the opposite direction. Okay, so then I need 4 more lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, which would put me at 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 would be my answer there. So let's take a look at another one. Let's take a look at 3 plus, and I'm going to put parentheses, negative 4. It's usually how you'll see a plus and a minus next to each other. So let's look at the signs of the 3. Again, I'm going to look to the future to decide what the sign is on my 3. It is a positive. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with my 4. Yes, there are 2 signs in front of my 4, but I am just concerned about this one right here. at this point in time. So I have a negative. So it tells me a positive and a negative tells me I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to subtract those two numbers. And I'm going to subtract the big number from the small number. So 4 minus 3 gives me 1. Now again, I'm going to look at my numbers here. I have a 3 and I have a 4. 4 is my bigger number. It does have a negative, so my answer has to carry the negative. Our answer is negative 1. Now let's take a look at it on the number line now. We'll put 0 in the middle. It told me to go out 3, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, again, remember, my positives are this way, my negatives are this way. So then it told me to go to the negative 4. So I'm going to the negative 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. My one step behind my 0 is my negative 1. Okay. We're going to take a look at another combination. I have negative 3 plus 4. Okay, so my 3 this time is going to be negative. My 4 is a positive. Since I have a negative and a positive, I still want to subtract the numbers. So I'm still going to do 4 minus 3 to get 1. 4 is my big number. His sign is a positive, so it ends up being a positive 1. Okay, let's take a look at it as a number line. It's not a good way to write a 0. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. We'll put some over this way. Okay, so it tells me to go to negative 3 first. So 1, 2, 3. Then it tells me to go towards the positive by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see that 1 gets us our answer. Okay, now our last combination. We'll have negative 3 plus negative 4. 3 is a negative. 4 is a negative. Since I have two negatives, I'm going to add those numbers together. So 4 plus 3 gives me 7. I'm still going to look at which number is my biggest number, which is 4, and he's a negative, so he ends up being negative 4. Looking on the number line. Okay, so negative. Better label it right. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. I'm just putting some numbers out there. Okay, so I'm going to start with negative 3, so I'm going to go back 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Puts me right there. Then it tells me to continue going to the negative 4 more places. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see that we get negative 7. Now you're going to try a few of these problems on your own.